Hey everyone, today I'm live here at Fish Burners with Adam from Homyze.
Hi Tim.
Who the hell are you?
Well, funny you should ask. I'm Adam Edgell-Bush. I'm CEO and founder of Homyze. We are based in the UK.
I can say Homyze, a bit weird.
Right.
So
People have said worse things. Actually, one of our customers came up with Homyze, which I thought was particularly inventive.
That is.
I haven't adopted it yet. She may have patented it since. So.
I suppose grab any opportunity you can get.
Yeah, we've been called all sorts of things.
Is that from your service or because what your brand name is?
Well, yeah, this was as close as we could get to how one would normally spell Homyze and still get .com.
Yep.
Just another conversation, totally. Yeah, so I am originally Australian. I guess I still am Australian, but have been living in London for quite a few years, and am now focused on bringing Homyze to Oz.
Awesome. And how did what did the first couple of months look like from launch in London?
There was, so we launched now about 2 years ago, literally 2 years ago to almost this day.
No way. Congrats.
Well,
Roughly happy anniversary.
Cake. Yeah. And at the time, I guess we were kind of like everyone else. We stuck up the site, waited for people to just go on and book, and then realised that it doesn't happen.
There just comes.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the solution that we were providing was something that the market had been crying out for, and word of mouth would, permeate very quickly. We'd go viral.
You'd be Facebook overnight, is that?
Exactly.
That's the benchmark we're looking for.
Without all the kind of political furor, obviously. And then we kind of got things functioning. Started from a mostly digital marketing perspective. We actually launched as an app. So we launched with 2 apps, actually. One for our tradespeople, one for our customers. I guess I should probably say what Homyze does.
So what do you do?
So we are, for ease of explanation, Uber for tradespeople. So if you need someone to come and fix a usually acute issue with your home, then you can, at the tap of a button, summon them. All of our guys are the best at what they do, transparent pricing, very responsive market, and hopefully great customer service.
From your experience with starting with an app or apps rather than doing site first, would you change that, or would you?
Yeah,
cool.
I don't need to hesitate about that. So, I mean, I guess more for me, there was a degree of friction which we just didn't need. So if people want a problem solved, we're highlighting timeliness as one of our key USPs, and having to download an app, go through registration inevitably and book, that is not the most timely and immediate means of fulfilling that need.
But also if you're, I guess, trying to make changes to the app, you can't get it live and install.
I mean, like Apple is much better than they were at the time, but even the fact that you would get held up in approval for like a week, and if there was a somewhat critical fix, that was kind of a bit of a disaster. We found out one got a great piece of PR in The Guardian in the UK, and getting all these downloads, and realised there was like a massive bug that was stopping people from booking. So, now they're much better. But even having said that, our app is used for retention, and we are repositioning it at the moment, not acquisition.
Cool.
Everyone needs an app. It's kind of me as a new entrant to the tech space had jumped into me. Maybe that's not true. And I think, to be honest, app as a form factor is changing quite considerably. Obviously the first iteration is just mobile responsive pages, but we're going to see a lot more in the not too distant future.
That's awesome. And so, kind of, what did the first what did the 2 years look like? What did growth? What did business look like?
So we launched with a slightly undefined user segment. My co-founder and I come from property as a background, so we were able to do anything from provisioning a tradesperson to fix a leaking tap through to someone wanting to do a double basement and refurbish a house in Mayfair. So
You just think Monopoly every time you say Mayfair.
I do.
Sorry.
Although I realised it's a Sydney monopoly.
Is it?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, so Mayfair is the most expensive property, and they're like, no, it's not. I don't know what it was.
Yeah. What do you
Martin Place or something?
Probably.
Oh, okay. Yes. So no. Oh yeah. So the pain point for us was the same. You know, there has to be a better way of getting work done to your home, and part of that is solved by having an efficient process, and part of that is solved by educating people or allowing them to feel like they can educate themselves without being at the mercy of tradespeople. So when we launched, we were originally going to do a 3D visualization of your homes. We were using, at the time, Google's Project Tango, which has since been retired or morphed into Core AR, I think. And people would be able to get this 3D model of their home, play with it themselves, see what the cost and time impacts of things that they wanted to do were, and then they could at least, you know, educate themselves that way before they spoke to someone. I think most people are familiar who've done this for bigger jobs with the idea that they can say, okay, I want to spend $50,000. And they'll get a quote for $70,000, and they'll get a quote for $200,000. No one will ever quote for what they want to spend, but even the variability between quotes at A and B is just crazy. And there are reasons, like, have they assumed the same things? Is one of them just really busy and doesn't really want the job? So he's like, I'll do it if I'm getting $200,000. All of this kind of inefficiency or noise was something that we were trying to remove. So, as I say, we launched with that, and then we still have that going as Homyze. We've changed it to something called Pricemeister, which is less of the 3D visualization, more of the just price and time impacts. Because we are a startup with limited resources and intellectual bandwidth, and the marketplace side of things, which is what we call the provisioning tradespeople on demand or in near term, has grown very quickly. So we did about 3 months of pushing the app, pushing for installs, then threw up landing pages, which gave us a initial boost, fairly significant boost, then added the ability for people to book themselves on the web pages and call, which again gave us another boost. So, you know, we, for the first...
You followed the users then, right?
Yeah, we listened. We like to think we listened. If it's not working...
I'd like to think you did.
I think everyone says they do, but I think you always kind of say, well, I'm listening, and sometimes I think I know better, and sometimes it's like, okay. It's more a case of, if you're not getting the growth you want, then you try something else. So part of it is active listening, part of it is just experimenting. So then we had, you know, the kind of traditional, from a low base, 25 to 75% month-on-month growth. We have been very much concentrating, this is now about a year ago, very much for the last year concentrating on getting that marketplace functioning. So it's always in imbalance. Marketplaces generally are.
Choice is supply and demand.
So we've got more of one than we need, less of the other, vice versa. But we are now kind of pushing along. It's never perfectly matched, but it's, you know, pretty well matched. And now we are in the UK focusing on developing Pricemeister further so that we can give people more of what we are assuming until they prove us otherwise, looking for. And as I say, duplicating some of what we do, but in a slightly different way, the Australian market on the marketplace side.
And why Australia? Is it because you've got a strong affinity to the here?
Right. I mean,
the
yeah, exactly. Take a look outside. It's a similar sort of market in that there's a lot of non-resident homeowners, like, absent or not landlords that have investment properties that need to be taken care of.
One of the highest users of Airbnb as well, globally.
Quite, yeah. So we work with a number of Airbnb management platforms in London, and they have come over here quicker than we have. So we, again, go where our customers
screw some things up and pave the way for you.
Yes, yeah. I mean, we would like to move in concert with some into other markets, which is something that we're looking at, but yeah, they have stayed. So clearly there is that sort of market here. And very much to your point, like wherever the Airbnb kind of works, we think we can work for different reasons.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so then where you've gotten to, what are the sort of key economics that you guys are watching closely to make sure that you can continue to grow?
So I guess our acquisition cost is first and foremost. Now it's a very competitive space, as I know other industries are, but everyone says about their own. We compete against...
It's not free?
No, I'm looking for that market.
Hey, Google will accept credits. $1 a month.
Again, like the information that Google has to use to its own advantage is
crazy.
Is another conversation. But the cost of getting customers through the door is for us obviously extremely important point. What we look at is probably a triumvirate of metrics, which is that the number of bookings that each customer will make by channel, and then the average cost of that job that those customers do. So between those three, we kind of work out whether we have viability as a company. And then we have secondary metrics, which are the efficiency of the market operational. But yeah, for us, we pride ourselves on delivering a great service. We think that translates into how often people will book us again once they have experienced using Homyze. And then where our sweet spot is in terms of the size of jobs is the other thing we're closely watching.
Yeah, of course. And I guess from watching all those metrics, have you seen any major changes with any, well, not to say quick wins, but do you know what I mean? Like you find that one little nugget that kind of changes the game a bit?
That's a good question. So we were in a slightly unfortunate situation because we launched doing both big and small jobs. Before we worked that out, we had some quite big jobs. So our revenues were like really high. Now they were much more labor intensive, and we made the business decision not to focus on them. So we actually had a downtick in revenues in our very early days. So I'd have to say we have realized the benefit of outreach and partnership with companies much more as a kind of continuous source of business and a richer vein of customers. We call them partners. And thankfully it kind of gets us away from the Google side of things. And it also means that they have a greater familiarity of what is good in this industry, and we would always like to consider that we exceed expectations. But they have a more relevant frame of reference. So.
Well, that is one of the, I guess, unfortunately, one of the positions a lot of two-sided marketplaces end up in is where they get into that rhythm of, well, I have to keep spending money just to get new users each month to kind of force the marketplace to work without really understanding the detail of the unit economics, what the existing market is doing, and is there something viable there? How do you do you use any tools to measure all this sort of stuff or to make these judgment calls? Or is it purely gut, or what's?
We probably don't use enough. It's such an important point for us. We are very much at the mercy of how our tradespeople act in the wild, out in the market. You know, they're a face-to-face touch point for us with the customer. And in that regard, if they have a bad experience, then it reflects poorly on us. Now, the best way of avoiding that happening or getting them to be more consistent adopters of the Homyze ethos is to keep giving them business. And sometimes, unfortunately, you know, in the early stages particularly, you have to make a decision to say, look, every customer isn't going to be profitable. But we need to start feeding these guys work, to get them engaged, to get them, you know, feeling confident that they can use Homyze for getting the vast majority of their business, and then they'll protect that revenue stream.
Yeah, makes sense. And do you use, you know, obviously besides Tammy, do you use Google Analytics, you know, Autopilot, Hotjar? Like, what are the tools that you use? So
we use Google Analytics a lot. We have opened it up to a few people at various points, and we have a pretty idiosyncratic, I guess is maybe the nice way of putting it, but we have like a very robust tracking framework on GA. We used to use Autopilot. We actually switched away from them, just if there's anything wrong with that. They're a very cost-effective provider. But we are revisiting our email automation and customer engagement. So our chat actually is powered by our CRM. We have used another email automation provider, which I'm not sure, I won't mention their names, but to be honest, they actually made Autopilot look great. So, and I think they're a fantastic service.
And you guys used Segment, didn't you?
We did use Segments.
What are your thoughts for startups, you know, getting started or growing? What point did it work for you?
So we've tried a lot of things. So, you know, we were on things like Mixpanel and Kissmetrics when we were more app focused, which